Eli, what will you be thinking about into the weekend? How do you digest this historic week?
Well, that's a great question. I would say, I think you got to go back and look at Andrew McCabe's testimony yesterday before the Senate, because we did learn that some of the initial stories were not quite correct if McCabe is to be believed. And he's a Comey loyalist, and his wife is a Democrat. So I don't think he would be, sort of covering for President Trump. But he said a couple things that were very important. He said that there were enough resources to continue with the investigation, and he said that the firing of Comey did not deter that investigation. So some of the early arguments that President Trump had obstructed justice, I think that that's going to die down at this point. Trump himself has been erratic in some ways, and the White House communications on this has been all over the map. They've contradicted themselves, saying at first it was about this Rosenstein letter. But what we saw last night in that interview was extraordinary. He said, let them continue on. And Comey told me that, I was not under the investigation at this point.
Within this is what your good reporting was in the absolute uproar of this a few days ago, which was separating legal issues from just political dialogue. Where is that separation this morning?
Well, at this point, I think that the Democrats may have overplayed their hand. They're comparing it to Watergate. I don't think that there will be momentum for a special prosecutor at this point. And, it is extraordinary what happened, because I did not think he would be able to fire Comey with an ongoing investigation into the Trump campaign. But he did. And so at this point, it looks like there's still going to be an investigation, and it's still going to be overseen by credible, the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, is, respected by both parties and is seen as somebody who isn't really political. And whoever they bring in there into the FBI to sort of lead the FBI, we'll see how it plays out, but it looks to me like the independence of the investigation continues. So I think it feels a little bit less like a crisis than it did on Tuesday night.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of where I was going to take you, Eli. Does this week embolden the president?
I think in some ways it can embolden the president, but it's not quite like when Reagan fired the air traffic controllers, which sent an important message all over the world, because at this point, I think that he hurt himself, or the White House hurt himself, because the rollout of it was so erratic. And when you're president of the United States, you need to, kind of project a calmness and certitude.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this was him, I think, saying, this is my presidency. And I think that he made a calculation, and this is just based on speculation. It's not my own reporting at this point. But I think he made a calculation that under Comey, this investigation would drag on. You had an FBI director who was not shy about selectively disclosing information to the public about these extremely sensitive issues involving involving politicians, as he showed during the Clinton investigation. And in that respect, he asserted, kind of control over it. What he really does need, though, is a kind of closure to that investigation, and this does add more questions about that. But I do think that, once we really look at it, Comey was not a great FBI director. He made a lot of mistakes.